Hi, and welcome to Chapter 6. Chapter 5 was about the body that grows the baby. Chapter 6 is about what goes into that body, what moves through it, and what stays out of it. Nutrition, movement, medications, substances, and the resources that make any of it actually possible. Here is the framing I want you to hold for this whole chapter. You're not a nutritionist. You're not a pharmacist. You're not a physician. You are the person a client trusts enough to call when she is standing in her kitchen at 11 p.m. panicked because she just realized that the sushi she ate for lunch might have been raw. What you need is not a credential for this. What you need is enough knowledge to respond to those moments well, to normalize what is normal, to refer what needs referring, and to hold non-judgmental space for what is complicated. That is the orientation for this entire chapter. Knowledge in service of presence. Let's start with the single most important reset I'm going to give you in this chapter. You're not eating for two, and you never have been. The idea that pregnancy doubles your calorie need is wrong, and it sets women up for an unnecessary weight gain, unnecessary guilt when they can't manage to eat enormous quantities of food while battling nausea, and most pregnant women really only need about 300 extra calories per day, which is roughly a small sandwich or a yogurt and a piece of fruit. What changes is not how much she needs to eat. What changes is what her body needs from what she eats. Quality over quantity always. Here are the nutrients to know, and I will move quickly, but the chapter has the full treatment. So protein, about 60 grams a day, is going to help build the baby's tissues, the brain. First trimester versions make this one hard. Your job is to help her find protein that she can keep down, not to tell her to try harder with foods that are making her sick. Iron carries oxygen and blood volume increases 40 to 50%, so iron needs to increase dramatically. Plant iron is absorbed much better with vitamin C alongside it. So a spinach salad with orange slices is not a coincidence. That is biochemistry. Calcium, you want about 1,000 milligrams a day because that's building baby's bones. If she does not eat enough, the baby will take it from her own bones, and that is not a metaphor. Folic acid, DHA, water. We covered folic acid in Chapter 5. DHA is an omega-3 for the brain and eye development, and water is the most underestimated nutrient in pregnancy. Dehydration can trigger preterm contractions, and it's one of the things that starts to fall apart the soonest and the hardest. Now let's talk about cravings, which are real and hormonally driven, and they're not a character flaw. It's fine to give in to them. Aversions are the same mechanism, but in reverse. In some cases, her aversion is her body steering her away from foods that carry a higher contamination risk. Her body is not working against her. Now, pica is different. Pica is craving non-food items like dirt, clay, ice, chalk, laundry starch. It's more common than most people realize, and it can be a sign of iron deficiency. A client who reports pica doesn't need judgmental conversation. What they need is a referral to a provider. She's not going to be judged. She needs to know that before she even has to say it out loud. Now, foods to avoid. This list is shorter than most clients believe. First, cook your meat and eggs thoroughly. Limit high mercury fish, the big predators like shark or swordfish, king mackerel, tide. Limit tuna to about 2 to 3 servings a week, but salmon, sardines, shrimp, cod, all of those are safe and nutritious. So make sure she knows that. Most women avoid fish almost entirely, but fish can actually be a great source of DHA that she might have access to. You want to heat up your deli meats until they're steaming and choose pasteurized dairy. You want to keep caffeine to about 200 milligrams a day, which is roughly a 12-ounce cup of coffee. Watch the cold brew because it's often double the regular caffeine, and clients underestimate it constantly. And here's the doula response you can keep in your pocket for the rest of your career. When a client calls you anxious about something she ate, you say, let's talk through it. What specifically did you eat? How much? Most safety concerns in pregnancies are about regular exposure, not a single incident. Let me help you figure out whether this is something to watch or something to let go of. That sentence does so much work because it honors her concern, it gets specific instead of catastrophizing, and it locates her with you somewhere in between the terror and the dismissal, which is where most food worries actually live. Now, let's talk a little bit about weight gain, because this is a scope conversation and the line is bright. You do not comment on a client's weight. Not how much she's gaining, not how fast, not how she should be eating differently because of the number on the scale. Those conversations belong to her provider, who has her full medical picture. What you can do, and what you should do, is push back on weight shame when it shows up in how she talks about her own body. And the script for that is even in this chapter. When she says something critical, you can say, I want to gently push back on you for that. Your body is doing something extraordinary right now. This is not the time for a critical lens. One critical safety flag in this section is that pregnancy is not the time to restrict calories or to attempt major weight loss. If you become aware that a client is restricting food or purging during pregnancy, that is a clinical concern that needs a referral to her provider and ideally to a mental health professional familiar with eating disorders in the perinatal period. Do not try to manage that one alone. Now let's talk movement. And before we talk about this, an equity reminder. Not every client in front of you will have the same access to the same exercises or the same physical capacity or the same energy levels. Some are on bed rest. Some have SPD so severe that walking to the mailbox is painful. Some work 12-hour shifts on their feet and arrive at their perinatal visit already exhausted. Some might live in neighborhoods where outdoor walking just doesn't feel safe. And some may have never had an exercise routine, and the recommendation to start moving might feel impossible. So your role is not to prescribe exercise, it's to encourage movement in whatever form is genuinely available to the client in front of you. 10 minutes of gentle stretching matters. Kegels at her desk matter. A 15-minute walk on her lunch break matters. Walking, swimming, prenatal yoga, stationary cycling, light stretching, or strength training with modifications. All of those are safe for most clients. What is not safe, briefly, are major contact sports, activities with fall risks, scuba diving, and after the first trimester, any exercise that requires you to lay totally flat on your back. The chapter has the full list, so make sure you read it. And let's go ahead and give Kegels a moment because they get skipped over and they deserve a little more than that. Kegels help strengthen the pelvic floor, the muscles that support the uterus, the bladder, and the bowel. A strong pelvic floor helps with pushing efficiency during labor and supports faster recovery postpartum. She can do them anywhere, at her desk, in the car, watching television. If you cannot measure your exercise with a step counter, Kegels are still working. And the guideline for exercise intensity is the talk test. If she can hold a conversation while she's moving, she is at a safe intensity. If she cannot get the words out, she's probably working too hard. That's simple, universal, and no equipment is required. Now let's talk medications and substances. So 2 quick scope reminders. On medications, pregnant women take medications. Some of those are necessary, and continuing them is safer than stopping. Some are not safe and have alternatives. Some medications are clearly contraindicated. Your role, however, is not to advise. It's to help her have an informed conversation with her provider. When a client tells you that she stopped her antidepressant cold turkey because she thought she was supposed to, your job is to help her get back in touch with the prescribing provider before she destabilizes. Not to comment on the medication, but to support the conversation. Now, on substances such as alcohol, tobacco, cannabis, and recreational drugs, the doula approach is harm reduction, not lectures, not shame. Shame does not help anyone stop using anything. A client who is using substances during pregnancy needs honest information, non-judgmental support, and a connection to resources that can actually help her. And that is the work. This chapter has the specifics and it has the resources. Here's what it looks like. A client tells you partway into a prenatal visit that she might be smoking and maybe half a pack a day, and she's braced for your reaction. But your face doesn't change. You say, "Thank you for telling me. I know that was not easy to say. Can I ask, is this something you want help with, or is this something you want to talk through?" Then you pause and listen. You don't lecture her about smoking risks she already knows. What she needs is someone who did not flinch when she said it and who can help her take one specific next step. A quit line number, a conversation with her provider, a realistic harm reduction plan that works with her actual life. Shame closes the door. that response keeps it open. I want to leave you with one client. Her name in this chapter is Destiny. Destiny's 14 weeks pregnant, works 2 jobs, and lives in a neighborhood where the nearest full grocery store is a 45-minute bus ride away. The closest food source to her apartment are the gas station and a fast food restaurant. So she comes to her prenatal visit embarrassed about what she's been eating. She tells her doula, "I know I'm supposed to be eating a lot of vegetables and healthy stuff, but I just can't. I'm too tired after work to cook. There's nothing good near me anyways. I feel like I'm already failing my baby and she's not even born yet." Now, her doula does not reassure her that she's doing great because that'd be dismissing what she's actually said. Instead, her doula is going to get specific. She says, "You're not failing your baby. You are dealing with real barriers that a lot of families face and that are not your fault. Let's talk about what is actually available to you and what small changes are genuinely possible. And then let's talk about WIC, because you may qualify and it could change what's accessible to you." By the end of the visit, Destiny has a WIC application in her hand, 3 practical suggestions that work with her actual schedule, and a doula who did not make her feel worse about her circumstances. That is the work. Nutrition advice that ignores food access is not nutrition advice. It's judgment with extra steps. The doula who serves clients in real conditions are the ones who know about WIC and SNAP and the food pantry at the church on the corner and which farmers market accept EBT. Put that information in your kit alongside everything else. One last thing. The recording notes for this chapter close on a point I want you to hold. A steady, non-anxious doula is part of the clinical intervention. When a client is stressed about what she ate or how much she is gaining or whether what she feels is normal, her cortisol levels are going to be elevated. Where your calm, specific, non-reactive response is not just emotional support, it's helping regulate her nervous system. So keep that in mind. How you show up in these conversations is a part of the care. So read chapter 6 carefully. Memorize the short list of foods to actually avoid, and practice the response for that 11 p.m. sushi panic. Sit with the scope wall around weight and hold the equity lens around movement. Build out your resource list for food access in your service area before you need it. And before you move on, ask yourself this question. When in your own life has someone made a difficult conversation about your body or your habits feel safe instead of feeling like a verdict? What did they do differently? Whatever they did, that is the posture that this chapter is asking you to bring to your clients. I will see you in chapter 7.